YouTube is live. All right. Good morning, crew. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. My name is Julie Brower, and I'm coming at you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. It's Wednesday, which means it's Jerry on Ice Day, best day of the week, which is where we jam on all things older adults. So first and foremost, as always, let's go over some courses that are coming up. We are crazy busy starting this month. So for our online course, our 8-week online course, that starts August 17th. So today you all starts the 7-day countdown to jump into that course. So if you're interested, go over to ptnice.com, sign up because those seats are flying off the shelves literally as we speak. On the road, we are all over the place. So I am actually on the road 2 weekends in a row coming up. So that is awesome. We've all had a little bit of a break. So we are super excited to get back out there with you all. So we are in Rockville, Maryland next weekend, August 13th. And then August 17th, we are in Greenville, South Carolina. And then September 17th, we are in Newport News, Virginia. So again, go on to ptnice.com, check out what we have coming up, and send us any messages if you have any questions about any of our courses. Okay, to dive into our topic today, we are going to talk about the HEP Revamp. So the question is, how do we as clinicians get buy-in with older adults to change their HEP that they have been doing for days, for weeks, for months, from underdosed, meaningless exercises a lot of the time, towards an HEP that is appropriate in load and appropriate in intensity and relates to meaningful goals? This is not a super easy task, right? Like this can be really tough. So the question is, how do we do this successfully? How do we do this tactfully? And this all boils down to prioritizing patient experience over fitness. We need to prioritize patient experience over fitness. So I'm going to hash this out. So think of this very common scenario. You are a fitness forward provider. You're super amped up. Maybe you just took MMOA live and you are ready to discharge those ankle pumps and get after it with your squats and your deadlifts with your older adults. You are going to see a patient who you're seeing for the first time. So they could have just been in the hospital, in rehab, or maybe you are covering for a different therapist. If you're in home health, maybe you are covering someone else's territory. So you go and you meet this patient for the first time, and a very common question that we ask is, all right, we'll call her Doris. Doris, like, what are you working on? What's your HEP? What are your exercises? You're just trying to get an idea of what her routine is. So Doris brings out the 3 pages of the handouts that you guys have seen. That probably gives you a visceral reaction now, right? But she shows you those handouts of those underdosed lower extremity exercise 3x10. And she goes, I do these every day. This is my routine. and let's call the therapist or the PT or the PTA that she's been working with. We're just going to call her Angela. Okay. So Doris says, yeah, Angela and I typically start on these every time, and this is what we do. But this is my daily routine. Immediately, right? Like you get that visceral reaction, and you're thinking like, this is crap. Oh my gosh, this patient, her time is being wasted. These aren't doing anything for her. Like, I have to just I got to start over. I'm going to get her squatting. I'm going to get her deadlifting. Like, we're going after it today. Like, this is your thought. This is your plan. She can probably see it on your face. Yes, this is our goal. But y'all, let's take a pause. We have to take a pause here. This is our goal. Our intention is good here. This is what we want, is to move Doris away from that HEP towards something that looks like functional movement. We want to load her up. We know that Doris is probably capable of a lot more. After all, she got up out of a chair. She came and answered the door for you. Like, you know this just within a couple seconds of meeting her. The other thing is that we know that time is of the essence. Like, you feel this sense of urgency. Like, we know that our visits with patients are going to continue and continue and continue to get cut. We need to move her towards appropriate loading as fast as humanly possible. I completely understand this urgency. It's completely valid. However, if we come out the gate super hard like that, like we are a bull in a china shop, we are trying to pivot on a dime and change Doris's entire routine right away, we could be doing more harm than good in several different ways. So first, we could be seriously harming therapeutic alliance with Doris, with our patients. Remember, guys, like, you are a stranger to Doris. She doesn't know you yet. She doesn't trust you yet. She's already skeptical, right? Like, you're not her normal therapist. She's been working with Angela for several weeks. On top of that, she believes that these exercises are working. And gosh, she may even enjoy them. Like, we hate to think that our patients actually enjoy those crappy exercises. She may actually enjoy it. And we cannot forget the power of the mind. Like, remember Justin Dunaway's quote, beliefs and expectations are the foundations on which outcomes are built. Like, we want to create trust, open-mindedness. We want to create curiosity about our fitness forward approach. But if we come in and we tell Doris that the exercises that she has been doing and that Angela's been working on with her aren't helpful, or they're not going to do her any good, we're not going to create that trust. We're not going to create that open-mindedness or that curiosity. We can seriously harm therapeutic alliance if we come out the gate like that. Secondly, we can significantly damage therapeutic alliance with our colleagues. Like, we want to get more of our colleagues on board with our philosophy. The way to do that is to not come in and change up everything they've been doing for weeks on end. And just to get you guys, get you to play devil's advocate a little bit and to maybe give your colleagues grace, because I know I would come in, I see this underdose HEP, like, I'm already upset at the therapist. I'm like, you are wasting this patient's time, the time that we don't have. Like, I'm actually angry. So I had to ask myself, and I'm going to ask you all to maybe have a little bit of grace with your colleagues, because it may be that therapist took a lot of their time, and it took maybe several sessions over 2 weeks to get Doris to actually do those underdosed exercises every day. And we have to realize that that is a win. And the last thing here, this ties into how we could be creating harm. We could end up throwing Doris from being physically inactive back to being sedentary. Angela she did her due diligence and she really got Doris to start doing those underdose exercises every single day. She took Doris from sedentary to physically inactive. Even though those exercises we know are underdose and below her capabilities, she's doing movement every single day. And that is a win. I know from my population, my sick folks in home health, to get them to do exercise every day is a very difficult task. And if you have a patient that's doing exercise every day, that is a win. And we do not want to take that away. We do not want to come in, bust in and say, screw all those exercises. I'm teaching you squats and deadlifts. And then, like, is Doris realistically going to do squat and deadlifts, a movement she's never seen before, on her own? No. Well, we probably don't want her to do those on her own, right? Like, that's a very skilled movement. We want to save that for when we are with her. Yes, we could give her a modified version of that, but more than likely, if we take away everything she's been doing, throw new things at her, she doesn't have the trust or the buy-in yet, she's not going to do that every day. We do not want to throw Doris from physically inactive back to sedentary. Okay. So those are why it's important, right? We don't want to harm therapeutic alliance with the patient. We don't want to harm therapeutic alliance with our colleague. And we don't want to throw our patient potentially from physically inactive back to sedentary. Now, I want to touch on the urgency because I do understand this. Like, you may have this one shot to set Doris down a better trajectory. However, I'm coming back to the fact that we have to prioritize patient experience over fitness. Remember, guys, like, yes, we know our fitness forward philosophy is superior. We know that. But the market doesn't know that yet. Our market, being older adults, they do not know yet that it is a superior method. Eventually they will. That's our job, right? That's our job, to get their buy-in, to show them. However, they don't know it yet. But what every single patient can agree on, what we can all agree on, is the experience when it is exceptional. We can all agree what it is like to have an exceptional patient experience. We can all agree on that. So that is why we need to prioritize that first over fitness. And then we move towards fitness. We move towards those squats and those deadlifts. Patient experience first. All right. The next question is, how do we get this rocking and rolling? Like, how do we craft this amazing patient experience in a difficult task when we may have one shot to set Doris up on the right trajectory? So how we start this off is that we want to build Doris up. We want to reward her for the work that she's already doing. And we want to throw a, kudos to our colleague as well. So, Doris, this is awesome that you've been doing this exercise every single day. Like, this is your everyday routine. I am proud of you. It looks like you and Angela are doing some really great work together and you're making some progress. You're bringing out these positives to her, like making Doris feel good. You're trying to be like, let's get some trust with Doris right away. Then you move into a way where you can start chipping away at these 3 pages of underdose exercises. Doris, you have a lot of exercises here. Like, how long does this take you? And, Doris will say, oh, well, maybe it takes me, 25 minutes or so. Awesome. Doris, what if we could make a few tweaks that, maybe allowed you to finish your exercises in 15 minutes instead of 25, right? We are selling to Doris. We're giving her back her time. We're selling her free time. And we know that because we're going to end up upping the intensity on some of these exercises, this is how we're revamping it. 25 minutes is going to be too long for Doris to handle anyway. But we are trying to sell Doris the plane ride, we're trying to sell Doris the vacation, not the plane ride, right? So we are selling Doris free time. So that's the first way where you can start chipping away at this. After that, you ask Doris, like, okay, Doris, what are 2 exercises that, you think you have advanced beyond? Like, are there a few here that are like a piece of cake and you could do them with your eyes closed? You don't want to say here, like, which of these exercises are too easy or which are exercises that you dislike. We don't want to come out assuming this like negative connotation, right? Again, we don't want to put anything negative. Doris could be kind of attached to most of those exercises. She could feel that a lot of these exercises are actually kind of difficult. So I wouldn't go that route. I would just, again, which of these, a couple of them, do you feel like you would be advanced beyond? Making Doris feel good. So Doris gives you a few, right? She points out a few, and right away, you have already gotten rid of some of the exercises. And it was because Doris gave you permission to do it. All right, next, Doris, what are 2 exercises that you think are the most helpful in getting you stronger so you can, parentheses, enter her very specific, meaningful goal here, right? When we talk about exceptional patient experience, Doris, hearing you say a meaningful goal to her and you are showing that you care about it is going to make her feel really good. It's going to make her feel and trust that you are there to help her out. Awesome. So now Doris is going to give you her top 2 exercises that she thinks is very, very helpful. And this is what you're going to revamp. I highly suggest you do not try to change more than 2 of her exercises because I think it's going to be way too overwhelming. And when it comes to the clinician side, in terms of efficiency, we don't have that much time, right? Especially like in home health, if you are caring about what your hourly rate is at the end of the day, I would say go with 1. If you have a full hour with a patient, then maybe you can do 2. But if you can get 1 revamped, I think that is a major success. So Doris tells you that she thinks mini squats are one of the most helpful exercises to strengthen her legs. Again, we get this visceral reaction because we, as fitness board providers, cringe when we see mini squats. It's one of those things that we're trying to discharge. But again, take that pause. Okay, awesome. So what you can do here is say, Doris, let's put you through a little bit of a warm up. All right, we're gonna work on those squats. We're gonna work on your leg strength. Let's do a warm up. Have Doris do a 30-second sit to stand. Okay, so we already know, we know that Doris can get up from a chair, right? She got up from a chair, she answered the door for you. But let's get some objective data behind it. And now she's warming up, and this is going to be the exercise that you revamp to. So she does a 30-second sit to stand, you get your objective data, you look at the quality of her movement. Maybe you see that she has a little bit of trouble with that lower depth, right? She does that very familiar plop. Okay, Doris, awesome, right? Let's say she gets, 6 or 7. Awesome job. You can get up from that chair with only a little bit of help from having to push on the armrest. Looks great. Was that easy, medium, difficult? Was there anything there that you thought that you're having any trouble with? And she's, she'll say, yeah, I maybe had a little bit of trouble, like, that bottom part, or many patients understand the word plop. They'll be like, yeah, I plop at the bottom, because as clinicians, we're constantly talking about this with our patients. Right after that, Doris, awesome. Why don't you show me those mini squats, right? Why don't you show me those mini squats? Now, Doris is starting to do mini squats, and you're asking her, how do these feel on those legs? Easy, medium, difficult? Doris just did 30-second sit to stands, right? She's understanding that's a little bit harder. Now she's coming to do those mini squats, and she's going to have an idea that those are kind of easy now. Yeah, those feel a little bit easy. There's your segue. There's some space and buy-in to revamp that exercise. Okay, Doris, how about we take an exercise that is going to strengthen your legs, like you were just working on, that you've been working on with those mini squats, but it's going to work on, preventing that plop at the bottom that we saw when you were getting up out of the chair. Okay, here we go. What you're going to program for Doris is a sit to stand. She's already done them, right? So you've already got the warm up. And if there was any education or teaching points, you've already done that, but you're going to spice it up a little bit. A way that you can do that is by using, for example, tempo, right? So maybe you call them tempo squats or elevator pause squats, whatever it is, but you have Doris go from standing, drop a couple inches, pause, drop a couple inches, pause, drop a couple inches to her lowest point in her depth that she can control, pause, sit. Then she stands up as quickly as she can. Instead of doing 2x10 or 3x10 of what those mini squats were, now we have come up with an exercise that's going to be much more intense, because we're adding in control and time under tension, and we're adding some power with that sit to stand. Now we can condense that. Maybe we do 2 sets of 5. So we're making things more efficient. We're working on the weaknesses. We're bringing in functional movement. We have totally revamped from the mini squat to tempo sit to stands, it all with Doris's permission. Doris has gotten buy-in to this. She's gotten practice with it. This is how you change up the HEP. It is you have to do it very tactfully, right? That experience is going to be different than if you just busted in the door and brought a weight with you and said, all right, Doris, we're doing loaded squats. These exercises suck. We have to chip away at this, constantly thinking patient experience first. At the end of this session, you want Doris to feel like, wow, yeah, like that's definitely going to get my legs stronger. Like I felt that burn in my legs, but she was successful doing it. You've practiced it a bunch, so she feels competent and confident doing it. So you adjust that one exercise for her on her handouts. Doris, more than likely, is going to feel like, man, I hope that I have you again. If my therapist, if Angela ever goes out of town again, or she needs help covering, I want you to come back and see me. Like that is a huge, huge, huge win, you all. The last bit of this revamp is that you want to follow up with Angela. You want to follow up with her therapist. I would suggest calling. Emails, tone, inflection can get lost. Call the therapist and say, hey, same thing, boost her up. You've been doing awesome with Doris. Doris loves you. This is what we did. I adjusted a few things to the mini squat. She did awesome. She crushed it. We did a 30-second sit to stand, so you now have some more objective data. Thank you for letting me take care of your patient. So you have maintained therapeutic alliance with the patient. You have maintained therapeutic alliance with your colleague. And you're telling Doris, keep doing everything else you're doing. We have now made your program more efficient. We are maintaining that she is physically inactive and not sedentary. We're not throwing her back to sedentary. And we can just take from physically inactive and continue to move towards fitness. All right, y'all. That's all I got. Try and use this approach when you are walking into your patients' homes or they're coming into your clinics and you are getting that visceral reaction looking at that HEP. Think of how to revamp it in this way, always prioritizing patient experience first. Have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and we'll talk again soon.